When I turned into the street, something felt wrong. The driveway was empty, too empty. My nameplate was gone from the gate. Only 2 rusty screws remained, like tiny scars where my identity used to sit. My mother stood on the porch wearing a smile so tight it looked painful. And my sister? She leaned against her brand new white car like she owned the sun, twirling her keys with that familiar arrogance. "You're back early," my mother said. I didn't respond. My eyes scanned the house. The curtains were different. The walls were a color I'd never chosen. Everything looked replaced. New paint. I murmured. "Doesn't look like mine." My sister smirked. "Bad news, genius. You don't live here anymore." They laughed loud, rehearsed laughter, as if they'd been saving this moment to savor it. "We sold the house," my mother added proudly. "Needed the money to deal with your sister's problems. You were gone too long. We figured you moved on." I nodded slowly. "And you didn't think to ask me?" My sister scoffed. "Why ask you? You're always the one preaching family first." Guess we finally listened. They were waiting for me to explode, to cry, to beg. Instead, I smiled. A small, quiet smile. It unsettled them instantly. "What's funny?" my sister snapped. I looked up at the balcony where I used to sit as a kid, watching my father leave for work every morning. "Just realizing," I said softly, "how poetic all this is." "Poetic?" she barked. "You're basically homeless." "Maybe," I said. "But tell me, when exactly did you finalize the sale?" "Last week," my mother said proudly. "Great price. Cash. Perfect." I nodded again. Perfect. If only they knew what started 6 months ago. The first thing I did was reroute everything tied to the property. I transferred the real deed, the real registration, and the real tax IDs to my holding company, one they knew nothing about. Then I got to work on the trap. A year earlier, I'd bought the empty plot next door through a silent development firm. Same street, same address extension, same design plan. But legally, it was a different property altogether. And that's the one their forged documents matched. The house they thought they were stealing wasn't the house they were selling. They sold a fake title connected to an empty piece of land. Nothing but dirt and paperwork. Meanwhile, the actual house, the real one, had been secured under my company months before they even began their scheme. When I announced I was going on vacation, they celebrated behind my back. When I left, I wasn't resting. I was waiting. Waiting for them to finish signing forged forms. Waiting for them to complete the fraudulent sale. Waiting for the money to hit their accounts, so the authorities could track every illegal transaction straight to them. By the time I returned today, their fate was already sealed. They just didn't know it yet. 6 months earlier, we had our last family dinner. My sister cried at the table, same story, different day. Bad choices, bad men, bad money. My mother held her, calling her a victim of life. But I knew better. She wasn't unlucky. She was irresponsible. I paid off her debt that night, quietly, and told myself it would be the last time. But life rarely respects last times. A month later, I saw suspicious activity in my property logs. Someone accessed my records. Someone signed something in my name. Someone pretending to be me. Then I found an unsigned letter from my lawyer about a power of attorney I never filed. The signature looked like mine. Almost perfect. Almost. That was the moment the warmth in me died. Not suddenly, but like a candle suffocating under a dirty hand. I didn't confront anyone. I watched. For weeks. Then months. I tracked their meetings. Their whispers. Their fake apologies to neighbors. Their plans spoken in the dark because they thought I would always forgive. That's the thing about family. Once they believe you'll never fight back, they stop hiding their knives. So I sharpened mine quietly. My mother's voice shook when she finally asked, "You recommended the buyer?" I pulled out a folded set of documents. "Yes," I said calmly. "He works for me." My sister forced a laugh, but her voice cracked. "You're bluffing." I handed her the papers. "Read." Slowly, her expression drained of life. "This says the title was transferred 2 years ago. This isn't the house we sold." "No," I said simply. "It isn't." I stepped closer. My voice was low, calm, deliberate. The kind of tone you use when speaking a sentence that changes everything. The house you sold doesn't legally exist. You forged a fake title, processed a fraudulent sale, accepted illegal cash, and the entire transaction was monitored. My mother staggered back. You wouldn't do this to us. We're family. I pulled out my phone, pressed play. Their own voices spilled into the quiet air. He'll lose everything. Let him cry. He won't even know what hit him. My sister gasped. You recorded us. I recorded everything, I said. Every meeting, every forged document, every word. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. I filed everything this morning: fraud, forgery, tax evasion. This isn't revenge. This is responsibility. My mother's voice cracked. You can't send your own family to jail. I looked at the house one last time, then turned away. You already did. That evening, when the police came, I didn't stay to watch. Their screams and excuses weren't my concern anymore. I walked to the next gate instead, unlocked the door to the real house, the one they never touched, never ruined, never owned. Inside, the air felt calm, untouched, familiar, honest. I took a deep breath. Some debts can be forgiven. Some can be repaid. Justice. But some require justice. And justice arrives with precision.